all about being intentional in the way that we live out our faith in the world, realizing that we just don't find ourselves necessarily living out faith without a plan to prepare ourselves to be formed in the way of Christ and to be intentional in our relationships about leading others to Christ. So that's our game plan, trying to get that solidified. So I've invited some special guests to be a part of our series, and today it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Ray Buse, who's going to come and lead us in this time. He's a coach, and he's got some great wisdom and experience to share with us. There you go. Grab my stool here. Ray, thank you for being with us today. Ray's pulling double duty. He was here in the first service as well, so we especially appreciate you staying.
I know. I brought my clipboard on the first one, didn't even use it.
That's right. So. This is an awesome clipboard. I asked him where I could get one of these. So thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and kind of why you love doing it.
I am currently a high school football coach at a private school in Houston. It's a private Jewish school called Emory Weiner. What was the question?
A little bit about yourself.
I'm just messing with you. No, I got called to be a coach when I was playing football in West Texas. I knew that I wanted to be a coach when I was a junior because I looked up to my coach, and I loved the way that he was able to inspire us to be better than ourselves. So I kind of took a long path there. I joined the military right after high school and always felt the calling to be a coach. So after I left there, actually 2 days after I got out, I made a phone call to a school around here in Houston, and I was hired over the phone. And then I drove from Washington State, and then the very next day I had to be at practice.
Wow. So, when God calls?
Yeah.
He provides the path as well.
Right.
And so a lot of us are used to 11-man football. You actually coach 6-man football.
Right. 6-man football was actually made for smaller schools that have smaller attendance. I played 6-man football when I was in school, but I grew up in a town that had 197 people in it, and 97 of those people were students. So,
oh, wow.
so we had 97 kids from kindergarten through 12th grade. I had 12 people in my senior class.
Wow.
So the game was actually invented to give an opportunity for people of small schools like that to play football and be a part of it. And there's actually 164 schools in Texas that play 6-man football. So
really cool.
Yeah.
Well, as a coach, you're a pivotal part of the team, and the success of the team comes in part from the contributions of the coaching staff. So tell us a little bit about your role on the team as a coach.
Well, the biggest part of being a coach is basically being a salesman. So if you can sell cars, then you could probably be a coach, because you have to you have to be able to have your players buy into what you're selling. So not only do they need to buy in full-heartedly on their job, but they need to buy into the whole picture of being a part of a team and working together to achieve a greater goal.
Well, I know myself,
Right.
And I know that sometimes I like to do things or want to do things that I'm just not designed to do. I can't catch a football, so it's a stretch for me to even be talking about football in a series, but I love watching it, and I admire people who can. And so somebody along the way told me, Lance, you're not built to be a football player. And so we all have our strengths, and every player has their strengths too. So how do you coach a player who comes in maybe wanting to play one position to see that maybe they're gifted and equipped for another?
Well, it's another part of being a salesman. So what I would usually do for like a freshman or sophomore is everybody wants to be a quarterback. Everybody wants to be a running back, because those are the people that get the most recognition on the football field. And nobody wants to be the lonely lineman that's blocking that never gets recognition. So you may be built to be a lineman, but you want to be a quarterback. So basically what I do is I let them play quarterback for a game, and when they fail, they see the humility in that, and then that gives me an opportunity to build them back up into being a better player in a position that they were actually designed to play.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you bring together this group of individuals with all of their strengths and all of their ego and everything that goes along with it and help form them into a team.
Well, and again, that's another hard part of being a coach. At Emory Wiener, we had won 4 championships in a row, so we were used to being successful and being a good team. And then last season, we had our first losing record in 6 years. So we had a few seniors that had gotten used to being successful and riding the success of previous teams, so they kind of didn't put in the work that they should have been. They thought too highly of themselves. And so this year we have instilled, and we're doing a play on words of seize the day. We put in the win the day. So every time that you step foot on turf, you need to win that day. Not just winning in the game, but winning to make yourself better as a competitor. So when you leave practice, you should be wanting to go home and go to sleep. Basically. So
you've given your all.
You've given everything that you've got. So and that means that you're giving everything that you got to beat the competition across town that is practicing that day.
That's awesome. So character is a part of being a part of the team. So how do you help players and students win off the field as well as on the field?
Well, a lot of people will say that football builds character, but I'm kind of different in saying that football will show your character. So it's character in the face of adversity and the things that you do off the field, because you not only represent yourself, but you represent the team and the coaching staff. So when you leave us, a lot of times we'll tell them, if you wouldn't do it in front of your mom or Jesus, then you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place. And then
Good advice.
and so in the day and age where technology is big, we see everything that happens. So you either are dumb and you put it on Facebook and you became friends with us on Facebook and you don't try to hide it, or somebody's parent, mother of like a freshman or someone will call us and tell us, you know what such and such did this weekend, and then we take care of that on Monday. We have a blue ring around our turf field, and we call it the Blue Mile, and we make them bear crawl the whole Blue Mile. So we have deterrence, but we like the fact that we are a family and we're a family unit, and we want everyone to represent us off the field as well as on the field.
Let's talk a little bit about losing. We all know it feels great to win, and we know the kind of the high that comes from being on a winning team. But how do you coach a team through a loss? Because sometimes I know that can weigh really heavily and kind of decrease morale.
Right. Well, like I said, last year we had our first losing season in 6 years. And so we have a lot of young people this year, but we have a lot of really good talent. And throughout the spring, we were building on that talent and telling them how good they are and trying to build them up, because they are young and they need that structure and build up. But our first game it plays awesome into this question, because we lost by 2 points. So that whole next week, we put that score back on the scoreboard. So when we're practicing, when you walk out onto the field, you see it. When you leave, you see that 32-30 loss. And we go back to our motto, win the day. Did you do everything you could have done that day? Did you take a play off at a certain time because you thought you were tired when you really weren't tired, and things like that? And that's a motivating factor in itself, to make them think about, well, what if I did something better? What if I sacrificed myself to the greater good, to the greater, possibility of us winning when we're in a dogfight?
One more question, kind of put you on the spot for a second, but
Okay.
I think all of us are here in part because we're trying to figure out how we live out our faith in our daily life. I mean, would you say that's something that you think about all the time? I know I do. And so how do you see your faith play a role in your coaching?
My faith has actually, which is crazy enough, I've always been in Christian schools, coaching football since I got out. Like my main goal is to get back into public school and coaching there, but I feel a calling to help kids that are in faith. And I've been to a couple Christian schools that they're kind of doing bad things and not representing themselves well. And I try to portray my character and the way that I represent myself to help, lead them into the way that they want to be when they grow up. And that's the greatest part of being a coach, is because you get to help mold young men into better young men and better people in society. So character plays a huge role in that.
Amazing. Let's thank Ray for being with us today. This is awesome.
Thank you so much.
So today we're talking about what it means to be a part of a team called church. And we don't have quarterbacks and linebackers and safeties and all of that at church, but we've got different types of positions. And our team, like a football team, is looking for a win. But that win is not exactly what you might expect. Our positions look like this. There are some who are called to be pastors, and pastors are really the shepherds of a congregation. We're here to support all of you as you live out your life every day. We're here to help coach you through the struggles and the hardships of life, but we're also here to help you be your best self in ministry. I mean, pastors are here in a supportive role. Some are called to be leaders in the church. We have a church council and ministry teams who help shepherd the vision of the church, who help say, okay, what direction, what strategy are we going to use as we move forward? And I take direction from church council as I help deploy all of us in ministry together. And then there's the church staff. And like me as your pastor, the church staff's primary role isn't to do ministry at all. It's to equip you all to do your ministries. And so we have a children's director and a youth director who help shepherd ministry in youth and children's areas. We've got administrative staff who help kind of keep our structure healthy, to keep people connected to the life of the church so that we can be as healthy as we need to be. Some of you are teachers in our various ministries. You help form people in the faith. Those jobs are really important. And then some of you are detail-oriented. You're working in the background, making ministry happen every day. And without your hard work, your sacrifice, your passion, ministry just wouldn't happen like it does today. Ministry is a contact sport. It's not for some people to do and others to sit on the sidelines, but when we give our lives to Christ, we go in those waters of baptism, we come out, we say, Christ, I'm going to follow you. I not only want to be more like you, but I want to serve like you commissioned me to serve. God gives us a purpose, and that purpose calls us forth. So many people never step into service, and I was really moved by a lyric in that song Oceans we sang earlier that says, your grace abounds in deepest waters. Right? Your sovereign hand will be my guide. I believe that it's in serving the church that we step out of the boat into deep waters. The author John Ortberg has a book entitled, If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat. Maybe you've read it before. It's a great book. And it's so true that we stay in our comfort zones when we don't get out of the boat, when we don't step out and serve, when we make those excuses, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I'm too busy today. I'm too busy this year. Maybe the next school year I'll have time. That's staying in the boat. And when we step out and serve through the church, our faith is enlarged, it's engaged, we have to trust God more, and then all of a sudden in our workplaces and in our classrooms and in the banks and the chemical plants and all of the places that we work, we find ourselves a little more boldly, filled with the words to say a little more clearly to somebody that's struggling, and it begins to impact every aspect of our lives, and through our faithfulness, Christ impacts other people. The jobs in the church, though, don't necessarily look like you may think. Watershed's church different. At least that's what we put on the sign out on the road. And as a part of a church different, we're trying to engage people where they are, trying to make faith relevant to your daily lives. And so one of our values here is church creative. We believe that God is the most creative being on the planet and is the source of all creativity. And so if we're worshiping God, we reflect God's creativity to the world. It's through art and through music and through the physical, tangible things like recreation and sports and things like that that people begin to feel God's grace and love in a tangible way. And so there are things to do in the church that engage your skill level and your interest. I mean, we need graphic artists to help produce original art for our website and our worship services to enhance that. Maybe that's you out there today. Think about the ways your gifts could enhance our worship service, even beyond what we're able to do right now. Maybe you're a skilled video technician and you can help us reach an online audience who's not even here. That would be amazing. Maybe you're a sound tech who can help these musicians sound good and keep the sound at a great, comfortable level for those who are coming to worship. Maybe your gift is music. You're a great musician and you've got skills or vocal abilities that you can share with us. Maybe you're a carpenter and can help build furniture for worship. Maybe you're great at coaching and you can help form an Upward basketball team to engage children in the community. I can't even think about all the skills that we have present sitting in the seats today, but you know You know the passion and the interest and the abilities that God has given you, and there's a place for you to serve in ministry. As you walk the halls of our church, you'll notice that there's photography all along the hallway. And most of those pictures were taken by partners of the Watershed. That's just a way that we engage our creativity so that others can come to know God's grace and love more fully. There's a place for you. We have to remember, though, as we have our skills and our interests and our passions, that the church helps deploy us in service where your passion, your interests, your skills intersect with the world's deepest needs and where the deepest needs are in the church. And so when God is calling you to serve and you're looking for a place to do that, the first place to go is to have a conversation with me or one of our ministry team leaders to say, hey, I want to do this. I have a passion for this particular thing. And we can say, there's a need right over here for it. Diana, I thought, did a great job asking earlier for new adult leaders to be a part of our youth ministry. All it takes to step up to serve, and the first step is a willing heart. With youth, a lot of us say, well, I don't understand teenagers. Teenagers are great. Y'all are awesome. And I would venture out to say that really all it takes is an open heart, somebody just to love the teenagers who come. And part of it's just being with them, right? I mean, it's just developing relationships. And we do that in various ways. Some of you speak video game. I don't live in that world. But there may be a youth who comes on Sunday nights who speaks video game too. And you're able, through that, to open up a conversation in a safe place to talk about being bullied at school or areas that the prayer is needed in a life. Just being together opens up that space for God to inhabit and to move. All you have to do is have a willing heart. But so many people don't serve because of stuff that had happened in their past. Stuff that's maybe a loss in your eyes. Things that you need to be coached beyond. You know, Ray told us earlier that when a team is lost, they put the loss on the scoreboard throughout the week to keep before the team so that they have that loss in mind and say, we want to overcome that. When we step out in service, God is calling you to overcome whatever disappointment you're experiencing in your past. And there are steps to get from where you are to where you want to be. But don't let your past hinder you. There is a place for you to serve in ministry. Sometimes people feel like, well, I'm just not equipped. I just can't do what it is that I feel like God calling me to do. And I can rest assured, I've seen this in my own life, God doesn't call the equipped, God equips the called. That's where the deep waters are. You step out of the boat into the deep waters, you can't stand on that water on your own, right? Who keeps you above the waves? Christ. Right? And so when we step out in service feeling not equipped, Christ all of a sudden has to equip us, and we have to trust Him to do that. That's another reason. Another reason we don't step up and serve are excuses. Well, I'm not smart enough. I've never been to seminary. I don't have time. I'm too busy. There's something that fits into your life that you can do right now. It may not even be through the church. It may be in your workplace. It may be in a group that you hang out with. It may be within your circle of friends. That may be the place that Christ is calling you to serve. I have a statistic to share, and this adage I've seen has held true in every church I've served, that 15% of the people do 85% of the work. And that's very true. 15% of the people do 85% of the work in the church. And so what you see happening when that environment is present is you've got a bunch of burnout ministry leaders and a church that's not reaching its full capacity because there's not enough people to take the load off of the few. All of you have been given a task, a skill, an ability, a passion that God has placed in your life to be used in service to Him. My great love and my great joy in my work is helping people live out their vocation. Now, that's bigger than what you do in your work. Your vocation is your God-given ability to serve Him and do something great in the world. It's, again, where your greatest passion, your skills, your gifts intersect with the church and the world's greatest needs. And I'm here, and my staff are here to help you figure out where that is. Maybe you feel a burning in your heart whenever you drive past a particular subdivision every day. And maybe God's laying something on your heart to reach that neighborhood. Come talk to us. Let's see how the church can partner in that. Maybe you play basketball and you say, hey, I want to engage with other kids who play basketball. Great. Come talk to us. Let's see how we can deploy that in ministry together. That's really important. Maybe you're a business leader and you know how to organize things really well. Come talk to us. We've got a great vision here at the Watershed. Some of you have heard about it. We feel God calling us to be a community center in which the church happens to meet. And our dream would be to have a coffee house on this corner right here at Louisiana and League City Parkway, where the folks who live in this neighborhood can come and gather and get to know each other and talk about faith. And we can have people like Miguel and others come and play and have live music and Christian art that some of you might make hanging in that space? Could you imagine how we could extend the ministry and the mission of the church out beyond the walls of this building, beyond Sunday morning? That would be incredible. But we can't do it without your vision, without your knowledge, without your skills. We hope one day to have a building on this end of our property that houses partners that maybe you're great at fitness or art, or maybe have a passion for books or things we haven't even thought about that could engage those driving by in ministry and conversation beyond Sunday. Maybe God's given you an entrepreneurial spirit. Did you know that there's a place for those types of skills in the church? We need everything. We need you just as you are. God has called you and equipped you just like you are for ministry. And He not only wants you to live out that ministry through the church, He wants you to extend the reach of the church, the reach of Christ out into the world. It starts here, but then it flows out into the world. And we are only as strong as everybody participating in ministry. When you don't play your part, we're weaker, and the church is not able to be as effective as it needs to be. We need you. We need you. There are many ways to connect with opportunities to serve at the Watershed, and I want you to know about them so you can be looking for them. I believe that part of the 85% problem that I told you about is churches being lousy askers. And part of the reason we don't is because we've been told no a lot. But another part of the reason is we do these big blanket asks, and we don't go to people enough individually and say, I see God calling you to do this, and I think that you would do great. Pray about it. Now, I have to admit, sometimes I do the asking, and people have gotten used to the twinkle I have in my eye when I've got something in mind, and so they start turning around and running the other direction. Like, Pastor, I knew that you were coming at me to ask, and I didn't even care what it was. I knew that it was going to be busy because you had that look. I do that. So I think some of the 15%, 85% problem is because we're not great at asking. But the other responsibility lies in your hands. Just first of all is knowing what's going on. We live in a world now where we're inundated by our email and our phones and our texts. Things get buried in our inboxes. I've got filters in my Gmail that I miss things that come from constant contact. So you've got to be on the lookout for it. So every Friday we send out an e-news that has every upcoming event and every urgent ministry need in it. Check that out. Watch for it. It usually comes in the afternoon. I try to send it out so when you get home and you're checking your email, it's one of the first things that you see. That's a great way to engage. We print a bulletin each week so that you can take it home and pray over opportunities that are there that God might be leading you to connect with. Be involved in that each and every week as well. Talking to me or one of our ministry staff is another way. If God's given you a passion, come talk to us. Let us help you find your place. But then every month, just about, we have what's called First Serve Luncheon. This is a free opportunity with a free lunch and free childcare. You just show up, and we have our ministry team leaders there to help you connect with a place to serve. That's a great place to ask questions and to engage. But remember, ministry is a contact sport. It's not for a few to do on our behalf. It's for all of us to do. And when God calls you to be a Christian, He doesn't just say, all right, take your place in the bleachers and watch the team on the field do the work, because you are the team. You're the team that's responsible for carrying out the ministry. And if you're not playing your part, all of us suffer as a result. And the church doesn't have the outreach that it could and the impact that it could without you. So I want to help you find your place. I want to help train you up to be confident and bold in living out the ministry that Christ has placed on your heart. I want to help you engage your passion in a way that's more fulfilling than you've ever known. We want to help you get out of the boat. So let us know how we can help. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for praying. Thank you for encouraging and for serving. Thank you for being the Watershed. Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you that you've not only called us out of our old way of living, you've called us beyond our shortcomings and our sin and all of the ways we've fallen short. You invite us to be in this amazing relationship with you. And if that weren't enough, then you commission us. You give us a purpose and a place that you created and have uniquely equipped us for. So God, we want to step out of the boat today. No more excuses. No more not knowing what's going on. And even on the part of our staff, no more not asking. God, we want to get out of the boat, the place of deepest waters where we have to trust you the most, because that's where faith lives. That's where you stretch us and challenge us and grow us. God, that's where we want to be. So I pray that you would help everybody seated here today find the place where their deepest joy and passion intersect with the greatest needs of the church in the world. And I pray that you would show them the place where they can live that out. God, I pray that our past would no longer get in the way and that anything we're doing in our present wouldn't hinder us from serving you. God, I know that there are needs here today that are unspoken. People are struggling in their families, in addiction, in various things. God, you know what our needs are. And so I pray for all of us seated here that whatever they've carried in, that you would just give them the space to confess that to you, to enter into a conversation with you about it. And Lord, I pray that they would find somebody to talk to if they need that, in order just to lay that down at your feet and to trust you with it so they don't have to carry it alone anymore. God, we're a community that is all about freedom and service and helping people find a joy that they have never known. Meet us in our questioning, God, and direct our steps. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Every week,